Hello, everybody. You know, I have been recently working on some new terminology together with some new concepts that will help us understand the times we are going through. So, without further ado, let me say something about this. For instance, there is an important notion that is the notion of the mistake media. This means a group of agencies that use information generally sent to the general public, but that means to mostly to make people believe what some people I call the impudicrats want them to believe. Of course, later I'll explain what impudicrat is or what impudicracy means. We'll get there very soon. Then we have civil frightening agencies. I mean the ones whose main function is to keep the public scared, afraid, and shrinking into themselves. And secondarily, those agencies protect the population to some degree. Then you have the notion of impudicracy. So, impudicracy means a government by shameless politicians that are also called impudicrats. And you have what what I would call mind deregulators, meaning people that work towards making the majority of the population lose all references, uh, all ways to sort of find their ways through life so that they get disoriented and, in a way, they tend to resort to becoming just animals fighting for survival. And frequently, the mind deregulators resort to techniques, I'll talk about that also, that I call ethic washing techniques. Then you have a modern device that is very often used, that is the sensoroscopy. This means the careful examination of whatever someone says or writes about, or eventually even thinks, to censor it, to condemn it, or to punish it. Another close notion then will be the techno exile, meaning that in the past, people were not attuned to governments and to the equivalent to corporations in the past. They would be expelled and placed in exile. So they would not have access to society. They could not influence anyone. Nowadays, the same thing is achieved through techno exile, meaning, as a frequent consequence of sensoroscopy, people are placed aside from global communication. They cannot go into the media, they cannot go in social networks, or they are sort of politely censored, so no one really knows about their work or their communication through social networks. Then you have another concept that I like to call the rotary coat. So, this is a clothing item that has the possibility of changing its aspect according to the tendencies one wants to follow, namely social general tendencies. Usually, the ones who wear rotary coats, they try their best to follow tendencies that sort of feel secure to follow, and they try to avoid being the target of sensoroscopy or civil frightening, or whatever the impudicrats are using. Normally speaking, when we wear a rotary coat, that also implies that we have a very pliable spine, something I have a tendency to call a gelatin spine. Then you have another term and another concept that I like to call flockoversion. So, flockoversion means the conversion of mental sheep under the guidance of government or corporate shepherds. This means people convert themselves to follow the herd or the flock according to the will and the information coming from the mistake media. So, flockoversion is a phenomenon that we see a lot nowadays. Then we have ethic washing. This is quite similar to brainwashing, but it means washing away from people their normal ethics, their morals, their references for how to behave, what to do, so that then impudicrats can sort of impose on their minds, they're washed recently, new concepts for what is acceptable, what we might think, what we might do. Yes, indeed, it's a way for people then to be converted to some dominant sort of history. Then we have what I call the intestines of power. This means some sort of shadowy corridors where those who place money and power above everything, even above humanity, do their deeds, they plan, they manipulate, they use the information to sort of twist reality for their own purposes. And lastly, we have mind mutilation. So this consists of withdrawing forcefully from the mind of people some ideas and some feelings, namely through censoroscopy and exile from information, so that those people who are the targets of mind mutilation sort of behave properly. This is the idea for now, and I'm afraid I might be misbehaving slightly, but this is my nature, I'm afraid. So see you around, and if you like, share, comment, because censoroscopy seems to be also targeting me.